Hello and welcome to this edition of Blades of Thunder. In this episode we're going to be continuing with dry fitting the mechanics into the MD500 fuselage, and if you remember from last week we fitted up and glued in the skids and we prepared the mechanics to fit into the fuselage, but there's a couple more things that we've got to do before we can dry fit the mechanics. We need to cut the tops of the skids flush with the woodwork, and we also need to elongate and open up this little tiny slot to take the anti-rotation bracket of the mechanics because it's just too small. Okay, we need to be able to push the helicopter a little further into the fuselage than we'd like, so that we can fit the tail on the end and then we can pull it back in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to trim the tops of the skids off there, and we're going to use a very sharp craft knife and just gently cut it off. As you can see, it's quite hard to do, but just keep going and it will sawing through and it will come off. Get it as close as you can. You may at a later stage need to just get a bit of sandpaper to take it down, and you do that on all four. We've already done the back ones, but we're just doing the two front ones. So now we have to do this because the wood supports that hold the mechanics in won't sit flush otherwise. And that's pretty good. Okay, so as you can see, the anti-rotation bracket on the mechanics is a lot wider than that slot. So what we need to do is open that out. Now I'm going to use my trusty Dremel. You can use, if you're not confident using a Dremel because it can go wrong very quickly, use a hand file and just do a little bit at a time. Now you want to come back just a little bit past where it is, so I'm going to mark on there with a pencil so I can see it about 4 or 5 mil further back, and that should just give us enough when we push the mechanics back through that we'll have access on the end. It also just gives us a better positioning for the rotor head in the doghouse there. Right, I've set the Dremel to its lowest RPM setting. Okay, that's just to give me a fighting chance not to cock it up. Okay, so turn the Dremel on before you get to the model and just be very careful. Okay, so we've got the mechanics and they're ready to go in. We have made a modification with this servo here because the instruction manual says to fit the servo this side, which means that it sticks out about 5 mil further. So what we've done is we've taken the servo and moved it to the other side of the mounting, and that has drawn it in 5 mil, which is enough for clearance in here. Okay, otherwise the servo was touching on there and we wouldn't be able to fit it in. The other thing we've got to do that we didn't do is replace the canopy mounting lugs with 2 little screws, which will take us a couple of seconds. So just unscrew them and replace them. With 2 short M2.5 bolts. Okay, and it's just straight 1-for-1 swap. Okay. We will put these in with Loctite when the mechanics come out before it flies. Okay, but we are expecting to have to take these out and put them back in again a few times. So now the mechanics are ready to go in the fuselage. So what we've got to work out is how high this is going to sit above. So feed the tail down. The anti-rotation bracket goes back far enough. Maybe does it go back far enough? Looking good there. Okay, what you need to make sure is your mechanics will need to be relatively level. Okay. So we may just need to open the housing up a little bit, but that looks pretty good like that. So we've had a guess at how much blockage we'll need, and we'll just pop that in underneath, slide that back a bit. Okay, that was a pretty good guess. Let's have a look at that end. Pretty good. Right, now we needed to make a few more spaces because the mechanics are sitting higher in the fuselage than Roban anticipated. Now that could be because when they designed the fuselage it was designed for a different set of mechanics. Be something as simple as that, or it could be that they just didn't supply enough bits in the woodwork. So we've just simply made some 2mm ply cut to the right size that we will add in. Okay, so we're just going to fit the same amount to the front and the back. Okay, when you are doing this on your helicopter and getting the sizes correct to make sure everything is right, okay, it is quite fiddly. Okay, so it's best to have some tape to hand that you can wrap around your wood blocks. You don't have to get it accurate at this point, you just need to get the height right. Okay. And just to make sure that we've got the height at the front right as well. Okay, so there we go. That's all in position nicely now. It's going to sit there. Okay, so just going to check it looks relatively level. Okay, tail boom is roughly in the right place. So remember, we've now got a little bit of wiggle room. We can just push the tail in and out so when we fit the tail. So now we know how high the wood pack needs to be. We can take it all out again, glue the wood pack together, which we're going to use a different type of epoxy this time. We're going to use a stronger, slower setting epoxy, because the only thing that's holding the helicopter mechanics to the fuselage, even though there are screws holding the pieces in, is the epoxy, because the screws don't go from the bottom all the way to the top. Okay, so the bits in the middle, there's nothing holding it together. So we will do that off camera and show you what we've done when it all comes together in the next video. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.